There are different approaches to playing a V-accordion depending on your needs and playing style. For example, you might simply activate a particular set and then play many songs by interactively selecting whatever playing modes and sounds that you want, sounds that you've previously assigned to various register button locations within that set. Playing in this manner obviously requires you to know the locations of sounds that you have assigned. For example, you might have a sax sound at register button number 1, clarinet at register button number 2, violin at 3, and so on. The choices are yours to make. But it's important to realize that this playing strategy on the 4X gives each song access to only 14 previously chosen sounds from the instrument's fully expanded total of 285. You are essentially playing using only a small subset of the instrument's full orchestral potential. Another approach for interactive playing is to use a user-programmed bank to represent a particular genre of music. And although this gives you more orchestral possibilities than the set-oriented approach, it still represents only a subset of the instrument's full orchestral potential. The purpose of this video is to clarify with an example the concept of saved multi-part song orchestrations as a general playing technique that allows access to the instrument's full orchestral potential for every song that you play. It's a feature that is supported on a wide variety of instruments, like arranger keyboards, for example, and it often comes under different names. On the FR-1X, 3X, 4X, and 8X, it's a user-programmed bank. On the BK-7m, as well as the BK line of arranger keyboards, it's a performance list. On a Yamaha Tyros keyboard, it's a registration bank. But all these different names represent essentially the same feature, which is to facilitate the playing of complex orchestrations. To help drive home this exact point, I provide in this video the multi-part orchestration for the very same song on two different instruments, the FR-4X and the BK-7m backing module. The two examples that you will see and hear may sound different in each case because the BK supports auto accompaniment, whereas the FR-4X does not. But yet, from a structural point of view, both examples do represent the very same orchestration within the capabilities of each instrument. The Merriam-Webster dictionary definition of the word orchestration is the arrangement of a musical composition for performance by an orchestra, or the orchestral treatment of a musical composition. But it can mean different things depending on context. For example, you might hand me some sheet music that you claim represents your own arrangement of some popular song to be played, perhaps on the FR-4X. Sheet music that specifies certain orchestral sounds, like violins, saxophones, clarinets, but leaving me to figure out how to select those sounds on my own instrument. In that case, you might correctly call your sheet music an orchestration, couldn't you? Sure. In contrast, some jazz players who happen to play by ear might describe their actual performance of the song as an orchestration. They might say, "Listen while I play my own orchestration of this piece." And of course, you would understand what they meant. So you see, the exact meaning of the word orchestration can depend on context. On electronic instruments, when people speak of an orchestration, they typically mean several collections of instrument feature selections, each one having at its disposal the full orchestral potential of the instrument to play just one segment or part within a song, and collectively representing the complete performance of the song. Another important aspect is that some mechanism is provided for easily switching from part to part. But the most important aspect is that this collection of orchestration parts has been saved and stored electronically for future use. Many instruments today support this with the use of USB flash memory. It's fast, it's almost limitless in storage capacity, and it's convenient to use. Thus, orchestrations are routinely transferred back and forth between my instrument's internal memory and the USB flash drive. On the FR-4X, it will be a user-programmed bank file that's stored in USB memory. On the BK-7m, a performance list file, again stored in USB memory. Incidentally, I need to clarify something about my use of the word part. When some composers and orchestrators use that word, they often mean a particular section of an orchestra, represented by a different stave in the sheet music. This meaning of the word part is reflected on some instruments, like the BK-7m, for example, which has two treble voices called upper part 1 and upper part 2. But when using the word part in reference to multi-part orchestrations on electronic instruments, people typically mean a small section or segment of the total performance that is being played using some previously defined combination of the instrument's orchestral features. And it is in that sense that I am using the word part in this video. And I want to emphasize, the song is not played within a subset, but rather has access to the instrument's full orchestral potential. For example, any of the FR-4x's 285 orchestral tones can be used in any part of my song orchestration. Of course, I won't use all 285 within one song, but it is important that in each part I am able to choose from the instrument's full internal library of tones, as well as other orchestral features, like percussion, for example. The two example performances that you are about to hear is the song Kent Town Races. It's a simple, beginner-level song that lends itself quite naturally to orchestral voice changes, as you will see. But remember, it's just an example to demonstrate the concept and process. It's not a competitive stage quality performance. I am, after all, just a product support technician, not a world-class musician. Still, I can play well enough to demonstrate the concept, and also be a guide for you to learn it yourself, to play your own music. The FR-4X example takes advantage of the new orchestra-based chord voicing parameter that I explained in a previous video. You will notice my use of a Roland foot pedal unit, the FC300. This is not necessary. A sufficiently skilled person could achieve the same thing by pressing register buttons or pressing the plus button on the front grille to switch from part to part. Still, a foot pedal makes it easier to accomplish, and the use of such pedals is becoming more and more popular with all electronic musical instruments, including arranger keyboards. In the BK-7m version of the example, the treble sounds are being produced by the BK's upper part 1 and upper part 2 voices. This may be different from how you use your own BK-7m. You might instead like to use the resonant voices of your V-Accordion for treble sounds. However, if I did that, I would have to control two instruments at once, the BK-7m for auto accompaniment and the FR-4X for treble voices. I would no longer have convenient control over the orchestration. Hence, I'm using the FR-4X purely as a MIDI controller, as I always do when I play the BK-7m using a V-Accordion. And in so doing, I am giving each part of my song access to the BK's complete library of 1,000 treble sounds. Of course, I use only a few in each song, but it's important that I'm able to choose for each part of each song that I play which ones I want from the instrument's full potential. Note that to use the treble voices of the BK-7m, the key velocity parameter of the V-Accordion must be appropriately set to 127, as well as the MIDI bellows expression parameter appropriately set. The need for this adjustment varies on different models of V-Accordion. Another thing you will notice is there are times when the BK-7m seems to play on its own, with me just waiting. My orchestration makes the BK play an especially long mid-performance bridge, as well as an extensive ending. This is no different than when playing in a real live band situation, where I play cooperatively with other musicians, allowing them to perform what they do best at the appropriate times. Whenever I play using the BK-7m, I want to take full advantage of its capability to simulate a real live band, where I am an active member, but also where the band itself plays a substantial role, not just a simple background drum machine. And the only way to do that is to control the BK using a multi-part song orchestration, as you see me do in the video. Finally, I provide free download links for both the sheet music and the orchestration files for both the FR-4x and the BK-7m versions of the song. You can easily use these files on your own instruments for educational purposes to familiarize yourself with the whole concept of playing multi-part orchestrations on electronic musical instruments. These download files also show you how you yourself can share electronically your own musical orchestrations with other musicians, as well as how you can publish songbooks for sale. Such songbooks should provide a USB flash drive containing orchestration files for all the pieces in your book. And very importantly, you must design your orchestrations such that your customers can make use of a foot pedal unit to sequentially step through the parts of your orchestration if they so desire. I hope you enjoy my little demonstration that follows.